Continuing our circus of the macabre when it comes to male-female relationships and the gray areas that exist as well as the problems that exist. I was reading a story here, and normally I wasn't going to present this until I got to the last line, and then I thought, well, you know what, this is a social issue. This talks about both sides to some degree, and it, at the very least, should spark some discussion about men, women, and law. Because it's not all slanted in women's favors. I hate to break it to some of you hardcore MRAs. That doesn't work, okay? Some of them do have advantages where we do not, and that's not equality, and that's something that I'm always constantly trying to fix. On that part, you're kind of right, but how far you take it is not correct and is not something I could stand behind. Thus why I'm not considering myself an MRA. Man allegedly tries to force-feed ring to fiancé. Farron Thompson also allegedly pushed her while she was holding their son. We can't imagine why Farron Thompson's fiancé wanted to move out of their apartment, but apparently when she tried to do so, he got a little upset. Orlando police arrested the 29-year-old Sunday, charging him with battery via strangulation and child neglect, after he allegedly tried to shove the woman's engagement ring down her throat. WKMG6 reports, the woman told police that while arguing with Thompson about moving out, she realized she'd left her ring on the kitchen counter. When she went to retrieve it, Thompson allegedly held her down and tried to force it down her throat. He also allegedly shoved her against the wall and tried to cover her mouth to keep her from breathing, all while she was holding their 1-year-old son. Again, though, this is all allegedly, and that's something that's important. I believe that people are innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. I'm tired of our assumption first and assumption only type of society that we got going here. This is not progressive. This is not how adult civilized males act. Finally, after threatening to burn her home down, he forced her and the child out of the apartment. When the police arrested Thompson later, the charmer denied wrongdoing thusly, quote, "Women always claim assault, but never expect responsibility for provoking somebody." Excuse me. Yes, because this isn't much different than when one of the archdioceses, I believe it was, in Italy had said something along the same lines. Now, let's be real and let's be fair, though. Women don't deserve to be abused. No siree. But at the same time, if, let's say for the sake of argument, this guy is on the level and this is the first time he's ever done this. Let's say she pushed him too far. His anger, his upsetness obviously is absolutely justified in this, but again, assault is never. It's never in the case of the women, it's never in the case of the men. And I'm not just saying this because of the old adage that men shouldn't hit women. I've already talked in great depth about how in certain cases where you cannot walk away, it should be considered perfectly permissible to do so. It's also something my friend Hugh James 1978 said in his takedown of the MRAs, which is a rather apt one. How it's ridiculous the idea that a woman can get a man incarcerated with accusations alone. Well, I'm sorry, James. Sometimes that does happen. I have a friend who was in the military. I say the word was because he was involved in a domestic abuse situation where she was abusing he. And despite the fact that he had way more evidence of being beaten up than she did, she said that he hit her. Guess who went to jail? He went to jail. Guess what else happened? Well, apparently the military doesn't take too kindly to wife beaters around here, although from some of the stories I know of, that you could fool me, but I digress. He came back to his job after a day of being incarcerated, only to find out that his prominent position that he had worked his butt off to get was no longer available to him. They gave him a choice. He could no longer be a field technician in the job that he loved. He could get a desk job. That was the best they could do for him. He lost his career. He was less than honorably discharged. And he did not hit her. Not one time. And he got incarcerated. Now, was it a long stay in incarceration? No. And I don't have enough evidence at this time to honestly suggest that men get long-term incarceration just for that necessarily. It can get you a day in a cell. But here's the other side of this as well. Well, one of many other sides that I want to bring up in this video before it concludes here. A woman can cry rape and ask Yes, I Am James about his fudge. Well, that wasn't the person's full username, but I know somebody who was accused of rape, and their life, even though the accusations were proven false, was destroyed. His life destroyed. His job destroyed. His relationships destroyed. Even his custody situation destroyed. I know somebody from a daycare that I worked with. His crime? He happened to be supporting a little girl, as you're usually supposed to be doing, by the backside for piggyback rides. The little girl simply uttered the words that the daycare individual had touched her butt. Now, she didn't understand that when she says he touched my butt, they thought she meant that he groped her. Even when it was proven that he had not groped her, even when the little girl clarified her statement, he lost his job. His family wouldn't talk to him. He lost the love of his life, who thought that these charges somehow must be real, that even though he never had molested a kid in his life, and never, of course, would, that he did that he was a disgusting and terrible individual. And granted, we're way worse when it comes to claims of pedophilia than we are of adult rape. But is this any less disgusting? Is this any less of a thing where somebody, based off of a simple accusation, was not necessarily enough to not get somebody incarcerated? I can show you articles from my research project I did on pedophilia of an entire town in Washington that, based off of testimony from the kids, testimony that the kids themselves later admitted was not even real, put people away for many years because the DA was seeking re-election, and got that re-election because of his conviction rate. He threw an entire community, and I'm not even joking, because Washington is still paying off parts of those families, or just finished up paying off those families. And one of the family members swears that the testimony he gave was real, despite the fact that there is no evidence that he was never violated sexually or otherwise, and was never involved in the things that the DA was saying that this family was involved with. This ruined not only these community people's lives, one of them lost their life because, as you recall, when it comes to sexual crimes, especially ones against children, inmates don't take too kindly to pedo-kind around here. Never mind if it's later proven that the person never touched a kid in their life and would never touch a kid. Can you see how our preemptive nature hurts us? But part of why I can believe that this guy held his mouth over this woman is my girlfriend. Her ex-husband did the exact same thing to her in front of their children. He didn't care who saw it, unless, of course, there were police or such things. He didn't care. If he wanted to, he could have continued and he could have killed her, and thank goodness he didn't. But on the other hand, can women be infuriated? Can women push guys? Can women get people beyond anything and everything? Yes. But you know what? It's not right to act on it. If you have to, when she goes out shopping with your money or whatever crap thing that she does when she's not with you, because these women do like their time alone and away from the very thing that's stressing them out, that's infuriating them. Pack up whatever crap you can and leave. The rest of it, you can replace it, okay? I'm not saying it's okay, because yes, there is a such thing out there, and it's a thing that I think is a disservice to society called bitch mentality. That men are to be the dogs to you. That every whim, no matter how crazy, is to be honored by the man, and if he doesn't do it, you have every right to yell at him until 3 in the morning, even though he's got to get up at 6 in the morning to support your butt. Your butt, by the way, that doesn't want to work, because why should I work? The man should be the one who's paying for me and my life. No, I'm serious. One of these days I'm going to find a link, because I'm going to do a video series on bitch mentality and how much of a disservice to this society this is. This is every bit as much of a disservice as the you should never, under any circumstances, ever strike a woman type of ideal. You know, it's like Susan B. Anthony. When she was caught in, if I recall correctly, contempt of court, when she was standing up for civil rights, they wanted to let her go. And she said, no, you found me guilty, but you want to take pity on me because I'm a woman. I should be treated like a person who has broken the law. I want to be treated equal. You are going to take me to prison, and you are going to put me away for the same sentence as you would a man. Funny how that doesn't last. Funny how the rad feminist movements don't like to talk about that. But I digress. At the end of the day, there is a piece of this that can be true. If this woman, for the sake of argument, was part of the bitch mentality, then she is wrong. But he's not right for laying his hands on her either. Just leave. Just leave. You know, if you're in that situation, unless she's trapping you, in which case most bitch mentality doesn't stand for abusing men. It's just about making their lives a living hell to make your lives easier, amongst other things. And again, I've got to get my links up, and I got to get the concrete, a more concrete structure of exactly what bitch mentality is and what kind of a disservice it's doing to men and women.